Hey, Bert, my friend, welcome back.
Thank you.
Today, not with our Did You Know series, we picked another topic, affinity and anti-affinity in
Yes,
IT.
I already feel some distance between us. Does that
Yeah,
mean you have an anti-affinity rule for me?
I think we're from a distant point of view because I'm sitting in the center of Germany, you're sitting somewhere in the Netherlands. It's some kind of anti-affinity. But as we're talking a lot with each other and having those great videos, we already have also kind of affinity to each other, at least socially.
From a people standpoint, I think we can notice what affinity and anti-affinity does. Now, why is that a topic you want to discuss on this hybrid friend show of yours?
You have also these hybrid or in Azure or AWS, you have also affinity and anti-affinity. Your virtual machines or services wanting near to each other or being far away. And I thought we both, as we're anti-affinity due to distance, but affinity due we're friends, can explain it on a more social way for people to understand and maybe how they can use it in their daily IT life. And today it's not really about Microsoft technologies. It's something you can use nearly in every IT infrastructure. Nearly every hypervisor, VMware, Nutanix, Xen, Hyper-V, Azure Stack HCI, and also nearly every cloud provider is offering you those rules.
There are other cloud providers?
Yeah, there are others.
Oh,
there are others.
Okay.
You know, the other with A and the one with G and the one with O.
They're new to me, but please continue.
So you already talked about affinity. So affinity, Bert, it means near to someone.
So that's why you're now getting closer to the screen, right?
Being near to you, yes.
Yes.
But in real life, so when thinking of being near to someone, what would be your example? When do you or when feeling the affinity to be near to someone?
Yeah, I think the most obvious example there is being freshly in love, looking at the world through some pink sunglasses, not a worry in the world, and all you want to do at that moment is to be close to someone you love. You want to all the time be touching them, being so close, you can smell them, and you don't want to be close basically to anyone else in the world. You have an anti-affinity with the rest of the world, but a very strong affinity with your new conquest.
And an IT example here, therefore, would be you have a front-end web server and his database and application server in the back. So to bring peak performance, being absolutely in love, delivering your application or your service as a child.
Okay, wow. So we're going from being in love to having a child. I hope there were 9 months in between.
Some people started earlier.
Okay.
But in this case, your front end, your application, and your database want to be near to each other, having the peak performance. So they have these affinity. So they are heavily in love. They're a couple. They are maybe a family. And therefore, you would use an affinity rule.
So could you say that if you want to improve performance, you could use affinity in IT systems?
Right. To improve
so they're closer together, the communication is more direct.
Right. And for example, also for security reasons, if you're having systems who are not allowed to talk over the network, especially on a hypervisor, we could put them, or you can you could set the affinity rules that they're on the same host, so that they're no longer communicating over your network, but only over the hypervisor, only over the hypervisor engine, CPU over the hypervisor CPU, so that everything stays within the server. Two examples here. So performance and keeping everything in one box. Optimizing your network environment, optimizing your communication, optimizing your security. So it would be
anti-affinity might sound negative because there's the thing anti in there, but I think there's also a distinct benefit.
Yeah. So when you think of anti, it normally for many people it means I don't want to be near that person. So like your mother-in-law you don't like, the colleague you don't like, or your ex-partner you don't like. So you don't want to be together with them any longer or not that often.
Mm-hmm.
So you have an anti-affinity. But there's
True.
also another example for anti-affinity. So
Oh.
think of it. You're the president of a country, and there is your vice president. It's forbidden for you both to be on the same plane, to be in the same hotel, to be on the same car, because what would happen if you both, let's say, the airplane crashes? Hopefully, never happens. But what happens if you're both on the same airplane and you're both crashing with the air? There would be no one to lead the country. Or
Yep.
football games or soccer games. It's normally that important players are not on the same flight or not on the same car, not on the same bus, because if something happens, you will lose your team or you will lose two important parts of your team. Yeah,
So if I would translate that into tech, it could help me with availability.
right. It would help you with reliability and availability. So putting important systems not on the same host or
Mm-hmm.
not on the same system or not on the same cloud. Good example is therefore our domain controllers, our beloved classic Windows Server Active Directory domain controller. If you would put that, imagine one thing, you have a branch. Yes, your main domain controller is somewhere in the cloud, in a central data center, in a central location, but you're losing network connectivity to that one. And now your hypervisor, your host, has a failure because of that loss of network connectivity. And both domain controllers would be on the same host. Your whole office would be down.
Sure.
There would be no DNS, there would be no DHCP, there would be no catalog or directory service where users can log on.
Mm-hmm.
So it would completely bring down your whole IT environment in that location. If you're putting it on different hosts, yeah, one host can fail and you still have the other.
True.
So you're totally fine. Same for critical applications. You wouldn't put your SAP database, which is highly available, on the same system.
Mm-hmm.
It would be a different system so that you, even in cases of maintenance, that one can go away and the other one would be an example where you would use an anti-affinity route.
So in real life, it's really easy to set up. I can just delete some contact from my phone and I would have no more affinity. These settings in tech, are they really hard to make or?
It depends on the hypervisor. So on Petri, I will bring up a blog post about how to do it in Azure Stack HCI and Hyper-V. Most likely, when the video is there, the blog post will not be published yet, but I will link my profile. RSS feed, that one, and I think early next month it will be published.
Nice.
But it's normally easy to set up. In Windows, in Azure Stack HCI, you can do it via admin center, selecting a few virtual machines, which then where you can say, okay, they have an affinity or an anti-affinity to each other, or using PowerShell, same VMware virtual machine manager. It would be would also be go through their tools. In Azure, it would be availability zones or availability sets where you configure the anti-affinity. Proximity placement groups in Azure would be the affinity rules, so that you want to put everything near together from a network perspective. That would be affinity, proximity placement groups, and availability sets and availability zones are the anti-affinity rules. As an Azure example, and I said both easily normally to set up through UIs, through a bit of PowerShell code.
So they don't have to be called affinity and anti-affinity rules, but most of the systems out there, most of the cloud providers and virtualization platforms will have some mechanism that will represent this, right?
Perfectly true and perfectly right. Let me say it this way, but only having anti-affinity and affinity rules does not make a reliable IT system. It's the combination of both. So thinking of a larger architecture of an IT landscape, you have an application service. You have several front-end servers, you have several back-end servers, you have several application servers. The application servers, back-end, and front-end have an affinity to each other. But their other partners, so front-end server 1 shouldn't run on the same system like front-end server 2. So what you would combine is both rules with each other. So think of our real life situation. You're two couples. You like each other. You're maybe doing the same things together, playing golf, playing some kind of sports, having tabletop events together, something like that, LARPing, so real life role-playing game. You really enjoy that activity. It's like your application. You're both hosting the same application. You're hosting the application. You don't want to. You're not living in the same house. You're living in different house. It could something happen. Say, the heating breaks in the house of couple 1. It doesn't affect the couple in house number 2. Even if you're enjoying the same thing, you're doing the same thing, you're separated, affected by each other. You're only affected by what you're doing. The LARPing does not happen this weekend because of a new COVID restriction. So that affects the application. A DDoS attack from the outside. In this, you as a couple or not 2 couples are not affected. That's basically it.
Yeah. I think you did a nice job of explaining it in real life.
Thank you, my friend. But one thing I need to mention again is you have wearing this great T-shirt.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Yeah. So there's the Experts Live in end of May.
Yeah, in the Netherlands. True.
Yeah. So we need to mention it.
And we also have Experts Live Europe in September.
Right.
That's a multi-day Experts Live experience in Prague.
Hopefully you applied for a slot.
No, but I will visit them anyway.
I applied for a slot. I need to have someone covering the travel budget.
Nice.
But yeah, I think Experts Live, you will be there. Hopefully I will be there too.
True.
And yeah, it's basically everything for today, what we wanted to explain, my friend.
True. So if you have any questions about life, about public speaking, or LARPing, I think is a thing now with Flo, or maybe on the more serious side, it's Azure Stack HCI, Azure in general, Azure Arc. Let us know, and in the next video, we'll be sure to pick that one up.
Yeah, use the comments, subscribe to the channel somewhere here, and also don't forget to subscribe to Bert's profiles on social media to learn more from him.
Oh,
yeah, I'm always linking you, my friend.
Thank you, man.
And yeah, to everyone, have a great day. Leave us your comments. Thank you so much. Bert, always a pleasure.
Thank you, friend.